Alright there folks, welcome to another episode of Fishing Adventures, and we're looking at canals today in a very urban setting. I've covered the rivers, covered the still waters. Someone asked me about canals, so I thought I'd pop out today, shine a new haircut and just show you basically a typical canal. If you look at the pictures that are coming on screen now, they are all really different shapes and sizes, different widths, different depths and stuff like that, but when you're fishing, the basic profile is always going to be the same, okay? And initially what you want to be looking for is, when you're plumbing up, you want to be looking for the deepest part of that canal, which is going to be the track down the centre basically. So you're looking at roughly this area here, okay, and that's going to be where the boats go across, okay? They're going to churn it up, it's going to be a lot deeper. So it's always a good place to start, to have a line there, because that's generally where your bream shoals and stuff like that are going to be kind of like holding up, is in this area. And then as you move across to the far bank, you can pick out an area there. It's going to be a lot shallower, but there's also going to be a lot more debris. So if you can find a couple of clear swims, you can generally set up a bonus fish swim in one of those two areas and just see what happens. But generally speaking, it's going to be the track where you're going to get most of your fish from, plus the bonus fish late on, depending on what you're fishing for and what sort of fish are in the canal to start with. But one thing I used to do when I was a youngster fishing the matches on Caldwell Neville Canal is I'd set up a tiny little line just on a top kit, just to my left on my right hand side, because what I found is on the stretches that we were fishing, there were rushes on the inside, and it was the deepest part, to be fair. The middle was quite deep, but there was an odd patch that was really deep on the inside edges for whatever reason, whether boats had been laid up there or what, I don't know. And just on a top kit, and I used to get some pretty decent sized roach out there compared to the 1 ounce things that we used to get fishing across. So if you get a little margin swim, it might be worth an odd little look in there as well, because fish will hunt for cover wherever it is, and if you're nice and quiet towards the end of your session, there's chances are there's going to be a bonus fish down there. Now, I touched on briefly there about boats. In winter especially, boats are a key holding feature. If you're going down and you're fishing, if there's a boat that's lived on, chances are they're going to have heating on, which is going to radiate through the boat. It's going to be slightly warmer under the boat anyway, but that extra heat will just hold the fish. So if you can, plumb up a line as close to that boat as you possibly can, okay? And again, other features to look for, like your lily pads, your rush beds, all sorts of stuff like that are going to hold fish. But as I said, initially you want to be looking for the deepest part, and then plumb across, find a nice little clear area that's not too snaggy, set up a swim in there, and Bob's your uncle. You should be on the fish basically. Right then, there's no easy way to cut this into the video, obviously, because I'm in the van, but just imagine I'm still stood next to the canal. A good area to look for is, especially this time of year, is when people go down and feed the ducks, because they're popping in tons and tons of bread, and if the canal's wide enough or you've got plenty of room, it's always worth just setting up a bread line roughly where the people have been feeding those ducks. I mean, what we're talking, 2 or 3 yards out from the near bank. If the fish are used to seeing bread going in to a canal at that distance, it might be worth just setting up a little whip or a small little rig, just fish some bread punch on the hook and just fish it at that same distance. You could fish some liquidized bread over the top of it, anything like that, and just use that as a gauge as well, and just see. And a lot of people get put off when ducks come onto the swim on a canal, in particular, thinking that they're going to disturb the fish and that, but they're really not. The fish don't seem to care. I mean, I've caught as many fish on canals when there's been ducks milling up and down intercepting maggots or whatever, and I've still caught fish, do you know what I mean? So it doesn't really put them off. And if you think that if people are there feeding the ducks and they're chucking bread in and that, the fish are going to be underneath getting the scraps that are left, aren't they? So it's not really going to put them off. So don't ever shoo the ducks away, because that's a bit too obvious that there's someone sat on the bank. Just let them get on with it. They'll soon get bored and move on, but it won't really affect your fishing. But always bear in mind, if you've seen people fishing, feeding the ducks on that stretch at 2 or 3 yards, just dropping a line on there and just see. So now imagine I'm still stood back on the canal bank. So yeah, another really short and sweet one, quick guide to canals. If you've enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and I will catch you all later. Cheers.